G'day ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on this my journey into the constraints-led approach for BJJ. My name is Sam Battlefield and yesterday's video was actually pretty good. So I am going to be doing this moving forward where I essentially am breaking down today's lesson and then I'll edit the video later. Today I didn't take any footage. I left this puppy at home. One of the reasons for this is that last night we had Aaron's farewell, had a few beers. So I was not expecting it to be a particularly vibrant class. Unfortunately, it was a good class. Fortunately, it was a good class. We started out with our boxing tag, obviously. What I didn't realise was that Will, who was in today, hadn't been in all week. So I had a number of assumptions as we went into the first game that I soon realised that he didn't have a basis in. And then I realised it didn't really matter because the games we were looking to play were connection games. But if I look back the last couple of days, what I've noticed is people have been really good at regaining control of the underhook, regaining control of the torso from that underhook, trying to get their hips in and under the, their shoulder under the overhook. The connection game worked out. It was interesting seeing Will, his height versus Ridwan's height. One thing Will was doing really well was getting his head and using it as a third point of contact. One thing I started playing with was keeping upright. There was something to it. It potentially has issues when we start looking at major danger with dropping levels, but because I was so upright as well and connected to them, as soon as they dropped, I had something to go with them, which meant that they dropped and then I was able to swim under, get some sort of an underhook and move from there. It was something I really want to play with a bit more. The next game, one thing I've been trying to hammer home is the importance of the underhook. And so I started at an end game with the half guard stuff today, rather than try and move up towards getting the back using the underhook. The goal was to put them on either side, right? And Will had trouble with Ridwan in a sense because Ridwan basically pulled his leg out as he was going over, and there was this moment of like, oh, I've lost the half guard, so I won't continue the thing. Whereas because you've got that leg trapped, even if you lose that leg, it doesn't really matter because you can then pop up on top as long as you keep that connection and that leg bent and their ankle connected to their ass. That's a good external cue. Connect their ankle to their ass and needing to destabilize. I think it was at this point we discussed destabilization, but more importantly, we discussed acting to perceive and perceiving to act. That was actually the segue between the takedown stuff. I was trying to get them to think, okay, well, if you've almost got something and they're defending it and you're just going round and round in circles, almost getting something, well, think about taking that thing that they're defending with and using that to then move to the other side. Acting to perceive and then perceiving to act. So if I'm almost there, if I act on something, but then, that was weird, I'm almost there and then I'm like, oh, it says like. Alright, fuck you, you've taken me out of my thing. So if you're almost there and they frame off it, you take that frame and go the other side, and that's you acting to perceive and then perceiving the frame to act on that frame. Yeah? And that segued into the half guard stuff. I thought it was going to be really good because the half guard stuff, we were literally at that kind of that final tether where all you had to do is put them either one side or the other, and whatever their reaction is, you can eventually get them over. And it was really cool to see Ridwan was like, oh, I realised that there was a point where you could easily go out the back as well. And it was like, yes, you're seeing affordances. That's what I want to see. Not that we're acting on it today, but we will build to that tomorrow. So tomorrow the game will be same thing, but we can also take the back. Maybe I should have done this right from the start. Gone right to the end game. What's the end game? It's sweep to get on top. Maybe I should have gone there to start off with. Maybe. And then I would have avoided all that frustration that I had yesterday. And then we went on to the control portion. This time again, I was just looking to go from half guard to a mount or a side control sort of thing. But all I wanted was to get the knee above the TV dinner line. But in this case, I didn't make them have double underhooks. I said they had a crossface, they had the opposite side underhook. You couldn't do anything with the arm that was underhooked, but you could do something with this arm. It was much more representative. We started discussing destabilization as a means of destabilizing the system, not necessarily just unbalancing. We're talking about the spine being out of alignment and therefore not strong. And then in a later role that I had with Will, I was just holding on to the half guard. And I thought, all right, just let him figure it out. And I was flat on my back, so he had that in his favor. He had a crossface and an underhook in his favor. I wasn't really fucking with him. What I really wanted him to do was take the attentional focus that we discussed about messing with the spine alignment, which could be hips or head, but with the previous game, I brought the attention to the hips, in that if you keep someone's hips flat and put their knees to the side, then obviously the strength of the legs is lessened. So there I was, flat on my back, hips flat, and my knees basically clamped on his leg, and he was fighting, and then all of a sudden it was an aha moment. You could see, and he just got my legs to the side, boom, and that knee came out. Now, don't get me wrong, I ended up being a bit cruel and punishing him for it. Nah, not really punishing him, but once he did that, it was time to then go into another phase, but I was really stoked that he got that. 3 things that went really well today. I did have a couple of revelations from the coaching perspective. I should have written more of them down, but I was in the moment, forgot. Would have been good to have the camera on, to be honest. One of those was the acting to perceive, perceiving to act, and that would have been a good seminar as well. Second good thing would have been that the guys were connecting the dots all the way through. Third good thing was that I've realized that I need to go to the end game first, play games around that end game. It proves the importance of the concept rather than trying to build them to understanding what the concept is. Yeah, that's good. 2 things I would improve. I would have taken the fucking video. And secondly, I should have warmed up more. My shoulder is really hurting. And in the next 24 hours, I'm going to prepare better for tomorrow's morning class and try and tie everything in from the last 2 weeks. I'm going to add a little bit extra onto this video. I am exploring the idea of using sprints from the Agile methodology with regards to project management. I've just had a revelation. I'm playing the whole game, every lesson. So why am I doing it in a positional format as a curriculum? It doesn't make sense. Doing it in a sprint makes sense. I'm going to do 6-week sprints, I think. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 6-week sprints. Yeah. All right. I'm going to have a talk to Alex today and discuss this concept of 6-week sprints. This is Sam Battlefields. Thank you very much for joining me. If you'd like to know more, go to battlefieldsgrappling.com.au and fill in the form. Everyone else, like, comment, subscribe.